So in this video, we will look at how those security configurations, AKM value, different AKM value being manipulated. So I'm using a Meraki as example, I have a SSID called MRK-P. So the security point of view, you can see different security method. You can configure as enhance open or it's a password based like a WPA or PA2 personal or .1x. Those are the three main category. But I have selected password based, that means personal kind of security. So now the WPA configuration option point of view, you can see it has a few options. So what I'm trying to do is actually show you the different what this mean, when you configure, for example, WPA1 and WPA2, what that mean, how basically that is basically this configuration, what are the selections you made here, how that is impacting the configuration side of it. So now we selected WPA, WPA2 and 11R, we said disable. So PMF as well, protected management frame. At the moment we leave it optional, that means allowed. So now with this kind of configuration, what is the SSID configuration look like? Okay, so now to get this understanding, so what I am going to do is actually I use a sort of a program, called ls-wifi. It's like a CLI-based kind of program. I'm using my Windows client. So that way in Windows, you can run this program to collect the data, more wireless data. That way it's like a simple application, as long as you have the Python on your Windows environment, you can install this. So I will give this link in the sort of a description of this video. So now this is developed by Josh. He's a sort of a engineer in Aruba, but he has developed this program and make it available for everyone to free of charge. You can use it, especially if you have a Windows environment. It's one of the best tool available. So in his page, all the instruction been given how to basically get this application set up. So now I have that particular application installed here. Okay, so now I am using that ls-wifi application to collect certain data. So now in our setup, if you check our Meraki configuration, so we have configured WPA and WPA2. That means if you remember the AKM kind of concept, so we configured for WPA2 personal here, like a personal kind of security. That means the traditional AKM value number 2. Okay, but now encryption point of view, we are using RC4 with TKIP with WPA, and WPA2 we use AES. In that way we should have a 2 encryption ciphers, in this particular side of configuration. So now let me just show that, so now in this particular ls-wifi tool, if you just simply ls-wifi, it will list down all the SSIDs available in this my environment. You can, let me just, at least in that way you can see it in one single pane, all this detail. Now you can see it will listing many different SSIDs, BSSID number, RSSI, channel, and which protocol enable. But most importantly, we are focusing about what AKM being configured. Okay, and then one encryption, unicast, and group ciphers being configured on this SSID. So you can filter by, in here you can see many different SSIDs. You can filter simple G-D. This will filter 2.4 SSIDs, dash A45 GHz SSIDs, dash 646 GHz SSIDs. and you can use include keyword to include your SSID name. So in my case, I just put include and just say MRK-P, that is my SSID name. So now this is filter only the so now in my case you can see there are two different beacon frame can be seen, channel number 1 and channel number 44. So this is being 5 gigahertz, this is being 2.4. So now if you look at the AKM value being configured as a PSK. So ideally, if you take the packet capture, this should be the AKM value number 2. And then encryption ciphers, they have 2 listed. Why? Because we are enabled WPA and WPA2, the same SSID. In that way, this is a CCMP 128, cipher suite value number 4. So this is TKIP, I think cipher suite number 2. So now in my current configuration, so these are the RSN Information Element configuration. Okay, but if you want to see this in the packet capture, you can have option of just simply export this. If you type -export, this particular frame will be exported. So you can see it's basically installed in the same folder where the application being installed. Now if you go there, so if you go to the folder, you can see the file name is 739. If I open this in Wireshark, so you can see those 2 beacon frame. If you select one beacon frame, this is 2 different bands, 5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz and 2.4. So if you go to tag frame tags parameters, so you will see element called RSN. This is where the secret related information goes. Now if you expand this, so you can see now broadcast traffic, because now in this SSID we have a 2 option using TKIP RC for broadcast traffic encryption or AES. But now it will always go with the lowest denominator, which is the TKIP, because both clients should be supported. So now broadcast traffic will be encrypting using TKIP. So now value being here, value number 2. So now pairwise unicast traffic point of view, you can see they have advertising 2 capability, because WPA2 client, they can use AES, WPA client, they can use TKIP. So now if you're expanding that, you can see AES and TKIP being advertised as the unicast cipher. So now these 2 options, value number 4 and value number 2. And then the authentication key management, AKM point of view, they're advertising 1 AKM value. So what is the value they're advertising? Traditional PSK, number 2. Okay. So now this is, in that way, this is what this application as well tell. If you understand this RSN, so this is the critical information you're looking for. So now this application make it simple. You can export this as a PCAP file and you can look at that later. So now what I'm going to do is, just change that security to something else. For example, now if you want to enable on the same setup, you want to enable 11R. Okay, so you want to enable 11R, and let's say you save that configuration. So now if you go and check what is that particular beacon frame advertising, let's check before exporting, whether. So now still you can see sometime, this cloud-based kind of setup, it can take a little bit of time just to reflect the changes. So now I would expect a different, now you can see here this time. So PSK, addition to PSK, now we have enabled 11R. That means we are advertising a 2 AKM value. So if client supporting 11R, they will connect using FT with PSK. If it is not supporting FT, fast transition, they will connecting using PSK. So now again, same thing, if you want to export now, you will able to see those changes in our setup, like 206, the file name. So this is 206. If I open this particular file, now select the beacon frame, and if you look at the tag parameters, RSN element, let me zoom in. So now you can see here, now group cipher, still TKIP, lowest denominator, and now pairwise cipher, same as earlier. We are advertising a pairwise cipher suite, like a suite count 2, and pairwise cipher, like 2, AES and TKIP. And this time Authentication Key Management, we are advertising 2 values. Previously we only see 1. So what are the 2 values? A traditional PSK, number value 2, and FT using PSK, value number 4. Okay, so in that way you understand what's that. Now if you want to check whether your client connecting in this setup as well, you can. My client basically already connected, like MRKP. So now it's highlighted, my client connected using so now if you want to check what is the client connected kind of AKM value, you can say netsh wlan show interface. This will tell which method client used to connect. So now it says, like again, this is telling what is the AP being advertising, AKM value 2 and AKM value 4. And then my client connected channel number 44, 5 GHz. So now in here, it says Cypress suite is CCMP, WPA2 personal. It did not really saying I am using 11R or not, in that way, if you want to check that, you need to go to the Meraki side and check which security method used, whether it's with 11R or without 11R. That's that's basically can be checked. So now what I'm going to do is I will quickly change some security setting. You understand now the flow of what we are doing here. So now let's say example, you want to change this to WPA2 only. So if you configure like this, so let's say we'll keep the 11R as well. That means WPA2 no TKIP this time. That means only AES has the Cypress suite. So now let's save this and go back to our method and check here. So same output like previously without exporting. Now still you can see, you have TKIP. That means that still configuration has not been pushed because now this time we are not doing any TKIP because we said WPA2 only. So now you can see the change has been took effect. So now the encryption cipher only CCMP 128. Unicast broadcast, we only have one option now. Okay, but Authentication Key Management point of view, because we enable 11R, still 2 AKM value being advertised. Okay. So now if I change it back to WPA3, let me just go and show that here. So instead of a WPA2, I will configure WPA3 only. So if you configure WPA3 only, now things will be slightly changing. Why? Because WPA3, we have a new AKM value 8 or 9. In that way, now with the WPA3, now you can see with the WPA3, they have some advanced settings as well. Okay. Now if you want to support, so these are the WPA3, AKM value 8, AKM value 9. So if you want to support Wi-Fi 7 client, you can advertise GCMP 256 as well. If you disable this, so sometime like a client will connecting only AES 128, but if you want Wi-Fi 7 kind of data rate, you should let this is enabled as well. Okay, in that way, example, if I without GCMP 256, let me save this. So now we have a WPA3. That means AKM value has to be 809, value number 809. Or encryption point of view, now I only have a CCMP 128 because I am not enabled GCMP 120. In that way, now let me just go and check that in my setup here. Now if I go and issue the same command, now you can see there are like couple of AKM value, like now we have a FT with SAE, FT with, there are 4 AKM value being advertised, but encryption point of view, it's only CCMP 128. But let me just get the export of this particular time, because sometime the packet capture may be easier to explain. Let me close this as well. And it is exported 8.8. So now this is the packet capture. So now this particular time you can see the 3 beacon frame. Why? Because this beacon frame coming from the 3 different channel. The previous scenario, WPA1, WPA2 not supported on 6 GHz. That's why we only see the beacon frame in these 2 radio band. But once WPA3 enable, you can see beacon frame across all the 3 band. Now important thing is, in here still look at the same element, RSN. So now group cipher point of view, still CCMP 128 because that's the only encryption method we enable. Pairwise cipher as well. Now this particular time only 1 count, which is the AES CCMP. But AKM point of view, we are advertising a 4 AKM value. So now idea is, this is traditionally known as like a WPA3. There are 4 options available. So if your client is Wi-Fi 7, he cannot go for the higher kind of group dependent hash. The AKM value will be number 24. Now AKM value 8, traditional WPA3 personal. If you're implementing fast transition on that, you can see AKM value 9 and 25 also being available. Okay. So now this is the sort of, like AKM point of view with that particular configuration. But now let me just enable GCMP 256 as well, because that's manually I have disabled. This is sometime required for Wi-Fi 7 client. GCMP 256 is a mandatory. In that way, they will give a certain sort of, like notification as well, highlighting that. But now I enable GCMP 256. Okay. So now with that particular configuration, so you should be able to see there will be 2 Cypress suite. Right now it is only having a CCMP 128. Ideally now we should be able to see GCMP 256 as well. So now let me just issue the same command. Still appear to be, like maybe configuration did not push. Now you can see so unicast encryption, GCMP 256 and CCMP 128. Broadcast encryption, the group encryption is lowest value, CCMP 120. AKM we did not change anything. So now the last particular configuration option available there is something called transition mode. Okay, let me just do that as well and then wrap up this video. So you can configure something called transition mode. So if you go for transition mode, mean this is WPA2 plus WPA3. So now once you do that, transition mode, 6 gigahertz won't advertising in WPA2. Okay. In that way, now if I select WPA3, transition mode, mean WPA2 and 3. So your AKM value will be further going up because we are advertising the WPA2 personal AKM and WPA3 personal. Let me just select like that and save the configuration and go to the same tool and show you. So now in this particular case, you will see a different, if it's a 6 gigahertz, you will see a different value there. Why? Because it will not advertising a WPA2 AKM. Okay. So now let's look at that. Now still it appears to be still configuration has not been pushed because I can see the same thing. Now let's see. Now you can see things has been changed. In 6 gigahertz band, which is channel number 37, you can see AKM value 8, AKM value 24, AKM value 9, and AKM value 25. Because WPA3 AKM only advertising in 6 gigahertz. But now in the 2.45 gigahertz, we are advertising a legacy AKM value number 2, 4, 8, 9, 8, 24, 9, 25. Like that 6 AKM value being advertised. So now if you want to get this export, dash export, and you can see this is a 343 file number. So 343, I will open with Wireshark. Let's look at the 5 gigahertz AKM, tag parameters, RSN. So you can see now group cipher is AES Pairwise cipher, GCMP and CCMP 128, but AKM count is 6. So you can see 6 different AKM value. So value being number 2, number 4, number 8, number 24, number 9, and number 25. So now in this particular scenario, if my client basically, now let's try to connect to the MRKP. If my client is Wi-Fi 7, he should go to either number 24, 25. If my client is not Wi-Fi 7, still supporting 6 gigahertz, either 8 or 9. So let's basically connect and see which group they are connecting. So that netsh command you can use, netsh wlan show interface. So you can see now my client using GCMP 256. That mean out of these 2 AKM value, it should basically using AKM value 24, which use the GCMP 256. Okay, 24 and 25 use GCMP 256. That mean in my case, I am using GCMP 256. That's what my client connected, because it's a Wi-Fi 7 adapter, Intel BE200. So it's connecting. So now I hope you understand now, based on all these particular security settings you're configuring, sometimes SSID basically advertising a different option. So your client has to choose wisely which method to go. Okay, so that's why sometimes it's important, if your client is Wi-Fi LN certified, they will testing whether this client trying higher security first and then fall back to the lower security. If your client is not following that, so sometime you will have some compatibility issues. Okay, in that way, even though the configuration is simple, try to understand what that mean every time you change in security method, what you are allowing. Okay, I hope this video give a good understanding. And yeah, this ls-wifi, quite useful tool to understand this kind of thing, especially if you have Windows environment. Otherwise you can take a packet capture and look at this RSN information element, but this make life easy. Thanks again for Josh, who's developing this tool and make it available for broader Wi-Fi community. So until we meet in another video, take care.